This tutorial video describes how you can generate a Bitcoin address for each art piece that you want to register on ArtChain.info. So once you've registered with ArtChain.info as described in the previous video, you can log into the site by clicking this selection here, this menu item, and you can enter your email address and your password that you entered when you registered, and you can sign in. Once you've signed in, you can then select this option to add a new art piece. And to add a new art piece, you enter the information for the art piece, you can browse and upload a file for it, and then you want to enter in this field a Bitcoin address that represents the art piece, will be assigned to the art piece. You can generate the Bitcoin address in any way you want, really. It doesn't really matter, but a good way to do it is to use this bitaddress.org website. So again, when you visit bitaddress.org the first time, it'll ask you to move your mouse around to generate randomness, right? And so because this mouse movement is random, it'll use that random movement to generate a seed that will then be used to generate the Bitcoin addresses. So this is the first Bitcoin address, and so for example in the previous video, this can represent the artist or gallery master Bitcoin address. And so you can print this page, and on top of the page you would put something like gallery Bitcoin address as the master address. Once you've done that, you can generate a new address by clicking this button here. It'll generate a new address using the same seed basically. And you can print this address on a piece of paper, and this address can represent your first art piece that you want to register. It can be like a temporary address, so on the top of the page you could just print something like art piece 1. Right? And then you can do the same thing. You can generate a new address, print this address onto a piece of paper, and then on the top of the paper you would write something like art piece 2, right? Temporary Bitcoin addresses. Okay, and then once you've generated, say, 10 or 20 Bitcoin addresses for your art pieces that you're going to use to register your art pieces, you need to transfer from your gallery or artist, your master Bitcoin address. You need to transfer Bitcoin from that address to each of your art piece Bitcoin addresses. Okay, so the way you can do that is on your smartphone, you can download this Bitcoin wallet application called Blockchain. And so once it's downloaded, you open it, enter your PIN, okay, and once you're on the home page here, you want to select this menu option up here in the upper left corner, and from here you want to select the address option, addresses. Okay, once you're in this screen, you want to select the imported address. You want to import an address by clicking on this plus sign, right? And when you click on the plus sign, what's going to happen is it's going to turn your phone into a scanner. And so what you want to do is you want to scan the shared address, okay? Not the secret address, but the shared or public Bitcoin address that represents your gallery or artist master Bitcoin address, right? You want to scan that. And once you scan it, what will happen is it will import this address, this public address, into this phone. You can give it a name. You can type a name in like gallery address, and it will be considered watch only because you've scanned the shared public Bitcoin address. You didn't scan the secret one. That's why it's considered watch only. Okay, so once you've got your gallery or master Bitcoin address in your phone, what you want to do is you want to be able to transfer, like we said, Bitcoin from that address to each art piece Bitcoin address. So you go back to the main page, and then you select the send option. Okay, and once from this send option, you want to click this option here to select your gallery Bitcoin address. So if you click on that option there, you would then select your gallery address as the from address, right? You're going to transfer Bitcoin from your gallery address to an art piece Bitcoin address. And you would do this for, say, the 10 or 20, each of the 10 or 20 temporary art piece Bitcoin addresses, you would make this transfer of Bitcoin. Right, so in order to enter the to Bitcoin address, what you do is you would use this. You would click on this field here. You would click on it with your finger, basically, so that the cursor is on this field, and then you select this QR code icon on the upper right. You click on that QR code icon, and you can then scan your public key, your shared key, for the art piece Bitcoin address that you printed on that piece of paper, right? And when you scan that art piece Bitcoin address, it will automatically enter that Bitcoin address into this field. So again, you're transferring from your gallery address to the art piece Bitcoin address, and then you select this US dollar field, and you would transfer something like $7, right? And then on this field, the fee, this is the miner fee. If you select this, you don't want to use the regular. If the regular is only 5 cents US dollars, that's going to take like potentially days for the transfer to happen. So you want to make sure that you select this field here, and when you select it, you want to select the priority option, right? The priority option, so that it only takes, it'll happen almost instantaneous, the transfer, right? It'll be anywhere from like $1 to $3, this miner fee. But in any event, $7 will be enough so that you can transfer in the future enough Bitcoin to say the next buyer that will you'll have enough Bitcoin in that address to cover the miner fees. So when you hit continue, again, you've got your gallery address, you've got your art piece address here in the to field, you've got $7 US to send in that field, and you've selected priority as the miner fee. You hit continue. Because you're transferring from this gallery address, it doesn't know what the secret key is. So when you hit continue, it will ask you to scan the secret key using your phone. So you scan, again, the gallery secret key, the gallery Bitcoin address or artist Bitcoin address. You scan that secret key with your phone, and then that enables the transfer from this address, gallery address, to the art piece address. Use this secret key to make that transfer. Okay, and because you've selected priority here, you'll be able to see that it happens almost instantaneous. So you can do this multiple times, the same process for multiple of the art piece Bitcoin addresses that you generated and printed, say like the 10 or 20 pieces or Bitcoin addresses that you generated and printed for each art piece Bitcoin address. You can make this transfer at $7. And when you register with our website, ArtChain.info, we will transfer into your gallery master Bitcoin address. We'll transfer $100 worth of Bitcoin into that address, which will enable you to register between around 10 or 14 new art pieces. So after you've done this process of transferring, say, $7 from your gallery address to each of the art piece Bitcoin addresses, then when you go to ArtChain.info, right, and you're ready to enter this Bitcoin address for, say, an art piece that you're registering, what you can do is, say this is the piece of paper you printed out for one of your art piece Bitcoin addresses. You can use the phone, you can download a barcode scanner application, and you can scan this shared key using that application, right? And you can basically email it to yourself once you've scanned it with that barcode reader. And then you can copy and paste it into this field for each art piece you want to register, right? You do a different you copy a different shared art piece Bitcoin address into this field. And once you've done that, you can put on top, instead of saying art piece 1, for example, you would change that, or in addition to that, you would change it to whatever this art piece is that you're assigning that address to. Whatever this title of this art piece is, you would put on top of that piece of paper, so that you essentially correlate that Bitcoin address with this art piece that you're registering. So down here, it's saying to transfer 35 cents, right, from the artist Bitcoin address to the art piece Bitcoin address before you click the save button. Well, the whole process before of transferring the $7 from the artist Bitcoin address, right, to the art piece Bitcoin address, you've already done that. Again, it's not 35 cents because the miner fees have gone up significantly. So in this example, it's $7. It could go down in the future. It might be less. Maybe you use $3 that you would transfer. But in any event, you've already done this transfer. So when you hit the save button, it will come up and show you, it will say that the registration was successful, and it will basically show you your member page, your user page on ArtChain.info, and it'll show the new piece as being registered. So again, you do that for all of the art pieces you want to register. In this case, it's shown here is just 4 art pieces. And so as an example, let's say that you want to sell a particular art piece. Let's use this example here. If you want to, this is a new art piece that was registered, right? So right now the chain of ownership is just from the artist dealer reseller Bitcoin address, their master Bitcoin address, to the art piece Bitcoin address. So let's say this art piece was sold to a new buyer. In order to transfer the chain, or make the transfer to the new buyer so that it would update this chain of ownership, you need to transfer from that this art piece Bitcoin address, right, the entire balance to the new buyer's Bitcoin address, which they would generate and send to you. right? And the way they would generate it, or a way they could generate it, again, is using bitaddress.org. They could generate their own Bitcoin address. They would have their own secret key that they would control, and they would have a shared key, and they would send you this shared key, this Bitcoin address, public, and then you would make this transfer from this art piece Bitcoin address, which again you generated and control. You have the private key, and so you can again use your blockchain wallet application in order to send again. So the from field in this case would be the art piece Bitcoin address, and you would import the art piece Bitcoin address the similar way that we just did previously. You would change, so that would change this from the art piece Bitcoin address to, and you would then enter the new buyer's Bitcoin address, right, in this field. And then you would transfer. In this case, you would select this button here. You would select this option, use total funds available, right? So if I click on that, it'll calculate how much how many US dollars should be transferred to be, so that the balance of the art piece Bitcoin address goes to 0. That's how the transfer happens. You have to transfer the entire balance from the art piece Bitcoin address, from this Bitcoin address, transfer the entire balance to the new buyer's Bitcoin address. And you select this option to do that. Use total available, minus the fee. So that in this case it would be $5, right? And then when you hit continue, again you select the priority in this field here. This field you would select as priority so that you have almost an immediate transfer. Okay, and again, then when you hit continue, you'll need to scan the private key of the art piece Bitcoin address. So this Bitcoin address, this art piece Bitcoin address, you would get that piece of paper and you would scan the private key for that art piece Bitcoin address. You would then transfer the entire balance from this Bitcoin address, the art piece Bitcoin address, to the new buyer's Bitcoin address. And when you do that, once that happens, that will create the new link in the chain of ownership. So an example of that happening is on this piece here. This piece will show, actually multiple transfers. So again, this transfer went from the artist, dealer, reseller, master Bitcoin address to the art piece Bitcoin address that was generated by this user, and then when this piece was sold, the entire balance of this Bitcoin address was transferred to the new buyer's Bitcoin address, and that's why they became the new buyer in the chain of ownership. I'm sorry, the new owner in the chain of ownership. And this is just showing yet another transfer to yet another buyer. So whoever owns this Bitcoin address is considered the current owner of this art piece. So although this might seem complicated, the only reason it seems complicated maybe to you is that you've never used Bitcoin, you've never used a Bitcoin wallet application before. But everyone is going to be using these Bitcoin wallet applications. Within the next 5 years, everyone will have a Bitcoin wallet application on their phone. And so everyone will just understand. You won't even have to describe these steps, because people will already understand and know what you mean when we say transfer from your master Bitcoin address to the art piece Bitcoin address. We won't even have to describe these steps. It will just be intuitive. You'll already know what that means. You'll just have to say, that process. You just have to say transfer from your artist dealer Bitcoin address, $7 of Bitcoin to an art piece Bitcoin address, and that creates a link. This whole process of what we just went through here, it'll already be known, kind of like using a browser. It'll just be simple. It'll be intuitive. It'll seem ridiculous. This video is going to seem ridiculous in about 5 years that I'm trying to describe this process of how this transfer is made. It will be so commonplace that this process, it will literally seem like I'm trying to describe how a browser works, right? It'll be like trying to describe to you how this back button works on my browser. And I'm not kidding. That's how basic these concepts are, these steps are, transferring Bitcoin from one address to the next address to the next address. It's going to seem so simple. It'll seem as simple as me like going through a 5-minute description of what happens if I click on one of these tabs up here. What's going to happen? Well, it's a link. It's going to bring me to a different website, right? A different web page. But of course, everyone already knows that now. Why? Because they've used browsers for many years. It's the same thing with Bitcoin wallet applications. It's going to be extremely intuitive. This is not a difficult thing to do. If you have any questions, you need help doing any of these steps, please select this option here, the Contact Us page, and we will be happy to help you with any part of the process, either registering with the website or registering a new art piece under your account. Thank you.